In a quiet town, where the sun cast warm rays upon old gabled roofs, there stood a Victorian on Hemlock Lane, its presence commanding yet enigmatic. The real estate listing was a masterpiece of omission, boasting of historic character, original features, and a unique sense of permanence, but cleverly avoiding mention of the Patterson family, the last owners who had perished in the house under circumstances described by the police report as a tragic accident of faulty wiring and smoke inhalation. A fire that left no visible scorch marks lingered like a shadow over the house's history. For Liam and Sarah, it represented an irresistible opportunity. The price was a steal, and the spacious rooms and sprawling garden promised a perfect haven for their young daughter, Chloe. As they crossed the threshold for the first time, Sarah felt a peculiar sensation. A profound, waiting stillness enveloped them, as if the house had been holding its breath for a long, anxious time. The first month unfurled like a storybook. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass transom above the front door, casting a kaleidoscope of colors on the polished floorboards. Chloe, a quiet and imaginative 5-year-old, reveled in her new room and the expansive backyard, where an ancient, gnarled oak tree stood sentinel. But soon, oddities began to emerge. Sarah would enter the kitchen to the distinct, comforting aroma of baking bread, though the oven remained cold and empty. Moments later, the scent vanished, replaced by the faint, acrid trace of old tobacco. Yet neither she nor Liam smoked. Liam, ever the rational architect, waved it off as merely old house smells, remnants from years gone by. Then there were the sounds, soft creaks of floorboards in the upstairs hall while they were all downstairs, or the faint melodic tinkle of a music box from a room devoid of such trinkets. One afternoon, as Sarah relaxed in the parlor, she distinctly heard a woman's gentle humming, a lullaby she didn't recognize. It seemed to emanate from the very walls, yet ceased as soon as she lifted her head. Chloe also mentioned an imaginary friend she called the Sad Man. He wore a dusty suit and liked to sit in the corner of her room, quietly watching her play. "He's not scary, Mommy," Chloe reassured her. "He's just very, very quiet, and he smells like old books and rain." Liam grew increasingly frustrated, attributing Chloe's imagination to her status as an only child in a new, expansive home. "It's just a phase, Sarah," he insisted. But Sarah, a historian by training, felt compelled to uncover the house's past. She spent hours at the local library, researching the Pattersons, Charles, a well-respected professor, Eleanor, a gifted pianist, and their young son Thomas, who had died at the tender age of 7. Their story unfolded like a forgotten tale, and a neighbor's words echoed in her mind. The house was their world. They rarely left. Charles said it understood them. One afternoon, while sifting through boxes in the basement, Sarah stumbled upon a small rusted box hidden behind a loose stone in the foundation. Inside were a child's drawings, a small carved wooden bird, and a stack of letters tied with a faded ribbon. The letters were from Charles to Eleanor, written during an academic trip, and one began with the haunting words, "My dearest Eleanor, this city is so loud, so full of hollow noise. I find my thoughts drifting back to the quiet of our home on Hemlock Lane." A chill enveloped Sarah as she read on. The letter was not romantic, but possessive, almost obsessive. The house was not just a structure to them. It was a part of their very being. That night, the phenomena escalated. As Liam worked late in his study, the computer monitor flickered before plunging into darkness. In the reflection of the glass, he caught a glimpse of a tall, gaunt figure in an old-fashioned suit standing behind him. Heart racing, he spun around, only to find the room empty. Yet the scent of old books and damp wool hung thick in the air, a lingering reminder that something was amiss. He began to believe. The climax of their haunting occurred during a thunderstorm. The power failed, plunging the house into a profound darkness, lit only by the flickering glow of candles. The family huddled together, the storm's thunder punctuating the silence. Then a voice, a cultured, sorrowful male voice, resonated through the air, clear and haunting. "You are not them." The words clung to the air, heavy with a grief that felt palpable. Chloe began to cry. "The sad man is lonely. He wants his family back." A woman's voice joined the first, soft and melodic, but laced with despair. "We are here. We are always here. The house remembers us. It holds us." A flash of lightning illuminated the room, and for a fleeting moment they saw them, a pale, translucent family of three, standing hand in the center of the room. The man in his suit, the woman in a long dress, and the small boy in short trousers gazed at them, not with malice, but with a profound longing that pierced their hearts. They were echoes, trapped in a recording of their former lives. With the fading lightning, they vanished, but the weight of their presence lingered, thickening the air with sorrow and nostalgia. Sarah's understanding crystallized in that moment. The house wasn't haunted by malevolent spirits. It was haunted by memory, the Pattersons' love etched into its very walls, imprinted like a psychic tape recording of their lives. The tragic accident had simply halted the reel, leaving behind an incomplete story. Filled with determination, but also dread, Sarah and Liam decided they could no longer reside in a shrine to another family's tragedy. They moved out a week later, unable to live in a home that actively resisted their presence. The new owners, a young couple without children, reported no disturbances. The house stood quiet for them, perhaps having finally given up. Yet, Sarah found herself driving down Hemlock Lane from time to time, the house still standing, beautiful and silent. She couldn't help but wonder if the new owners ever caught a whiff of baking bread or heard the faint notes of a phantom piano, dismissing it as the settling of an old house. Deep down, she knew the truth. The house was not empty. It was full, filled with the essence of a family that had loved and lost, a vessel cradling echoes of the past, patiently awaiting a life that would never return, and playing its sorrowful song on an endless loop for an audience of dust and shadows.